Maryland football is already in some serious trouble after an early season loss. Men's soccer looks to be on the right path after a disappointing 2023 season. We'll be joined by an all-time Terp, one who earned some new hardware over the summer. All that and more coming up on this year's first edition of The Left Bench.
I like our locker room. I like the culture of our team.
3 phases, and neither one of us, or either of those phases, were able to take the victory.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Left Bench, brought to you by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Ricky Podgorski, and that's Alex Gary. Alex, it has been way too long since any of us have been behind this desk, but very excited to start things with you behind the desk next to me.
And I'm excited to be joined by you as well. And there's just no place better to be back in College Park talking about all things Maryland athletics.
A lot of news going on. Where do you think we should start?
We just have to start with that exhilarating Maryland football game on Saturday.
Alex, I feel like we have to start there too, because Terps fans are not going to be happy after Saturday. A Week 2 matchup with the Spartans is the earliest Big Ten opponent Maryland's faced since joining the conference. The Terps were riding high off a huge Week 1 win against UConn, but on Saturday, Michigan State did not mess around. Billy Edwards Jr. starts off the scoring, connecting with Ty Felton for a 15-yard TD. Terps add another than Spartans QB Aiden Childs hits a 34-yard touchdown to Jaron Glover to tie the game at 14 in the second. Spartans connect with a field goal to go up 3 at the half. Terps coming out firing with another touchdown to start the third, but that's when things started to get off the rails. First, an Edwards Jr. interception. Then Jack Howes misses a field goal, and with just over 4 minutes left, Childs makes Maryland pay. A 77-yard bomb to Nick Marsh, tying it up at 24. MSU gets the ball back with just enough time to march down the field and knock in the game-winning field goal, taking down the Terps 27-24. Here's head coach Mike Loxley after the loss.
We had our offense on the field for a drive to win it. We had our defense on the field for a drive to win it. And we had our special teams on the field to give us a chance to go up 2 scores. 3 phases, and neither one of us, or either of those phases, were able to take the victory. And the Big Ten ain't going to give it to us.
Maryland struggled in all 3 phases of its team play on Saturday, but particularly on defense. Their biggest problem, stopping Spartan QB Aiden Childs. Alexa Wooten has more.
The big plays on defense, that's about growing up. Those guys had opportunities, and we got to do a better job of keeping the big plays in front of us.
One of those big plays came in the 4th after Maryland had a chance to go up by 2 scores. But they missed a 41-yard field goal. Turn around. Michigan State delivered a monster response. Aiden Childs found Nick Marsh downfield and tied it even at 24. Plays like Childs' 77-yard touchdown pass where the Terps defense was unable to stop the Spartan QB through the air ultimately led to Maryland's defeat.
Aiden Childs, our goal was to make him beat us throwing it, and he did that today.
Childs threw a total of 363 passing yards.
He's really good arm talent. He was very precise in his throws. It was just, we got to make plays. We got to be tight to the coverages. That's it. Like, DB is simple. I got to cover you. I got to close the space and be able to have the confidence to play.
And like Loxley mentioned, the Terps defense wasn't able to keep the big plays in front of them.
They took the game. They drove it down. They kicked the winning field goal. They did what we didn't do.
With another Power 4 opponent next weekend on the road, Maryland's defense needs to correct its miscues in coverage to avoid a 2-game losing streak. For Terrapin Sports Central, I'm Alexa Wooten.
Alluded to there, the defense was a problem against Michigan State. The secondary was getting absolutely torched all day long.
Yeah, and I mean, Nick Marsh, 194 yards. I haven't seen a wide receiver decimate Maryland like that since Jahan Dotson back in 2021.
And Michigan State's offense was cooking, but Maryland's rushing was not. Billy Edwards Jr. is a mobile quarterback. The running back room is very capable of moving the ball down the field. We will see against Virginia if the Terps can turn that around.
Maryland football couldn't close out a win, but a former Terp was able to secure a win on the grandest stage.
We are very honored to be joined now by Olympic gold medalist, triple jumper, and former Terp, Thea LaFond. Thea, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
First, we see you got that medal around your neck. Can we see it a little bit? Just pull it.
Sure. There's my baby, the front and the back.
Looks
Wow.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, let's get right into things, Thea. Tell us all about your experience in Paris this year. What were some of the highs? Obviously, the medal, but the lows of the Olympics. What were some of your favorite moments that you'll never forget?
Yeah, I gotta say, I mean, it's hard to complain when you walked out with gold, but I'll say start with the highs. I think winning that moment of actually competing and winning gold for my country and making history for Dominica, but also seeing my flag being raised on that podium, I'll never forget. And also Champions Park. I'm not sure if a lot of people know about Champions Park, but it was an area in Paris in front of the Eiffel Tower where you could just meet fans. And the energy, it was so intimate and so loud. You could literally feel the vibration of them cheering for you. It was amazing. Lows, yeah, the beds weren't very comfortable. I'm gonna give them that. That's for sure. And the food was just okay. So I'll give that, let that be the lows for now.
Now, this wasn't your first time competing in Olympics, but this was the first time you earned a medal. What
Yeah.
made this year different for you? Make the literal jump to the podium.
That's a good question. I think what made this year different was just my mental fortitude and coming in a different and really positive mental state. This was my third Olympics, and I remember telling my husband, who's also my coach, I was like, I'm really calm. Am I too calm? Like, shouldn't I be nervous? It's the Olympic Games, but he was like, no, I think you're just really prepared. And in the last couple of years, I got help from a sports psych to kind of just make sure that I was a good mental state, and I think that really helped out a lot. And this year has been probably the calmest I've been competing. And I walked away with two goals with a world champion and an Olympic champion. So I'm not complaining.
Now, there's no reason to complain on that front. One thing I've been dying to ask you is you represented your home country on the biggest stage. What is
Yeah.
it like to have a whole country root for you at the highest level?
It's been so special. I've been competing for Dominica since I was 16 years old. And so it felt like, having the biggest like ongoing party cheering me on. But it's been everything. I mean, it's a small country. I'm from Dominica. People always call it Dominican Republic. And to go from an island where a lot of people have never heard from to people stopping me all over the city of Paris and blowing up my DMs on every social media platform to say how proud and excited they are. It really feels like I've helped put us on the map. But it also feels like it's like the greatest thank you I could do to a country that's been supporting me for so many years is to bring home gold. So it's really special.
Absolutely. That must be an incredible feeling to have. But I'm curious what your feeling was to when you saw that viral clip of your brother figuring out that you won the gold. That's one of the most viral clips from the Olympics as a whole. Tell me a little bit more about that and what you felt when you saw that.
Yeah, that moment was really special. So just for a little bit of like background, my entire immediate family, and so my husband's immediate family, they came to the Olympics this year. We, along with about 15 of our friends, we invited people to come, and literally everyone took up the offer. And everyone was there except my youngest brother, who goes to the Naval Academy. And so I was kind of worried about him feeling left out. Was such an important moment for our family. But seeing his teammates just embrace him, it made me feel a lot better knowing that he wasn't alone. And in fact, he had this entire brotherhood and second family behind him. So that was so sweet. I was so concerned about him the entire trip. So seeing that moment really put me at ease.
Now, speaking of college team, we'll bring it back to the Terps for now. How do you feel that your time at Maryland helped prepare for you to compete at the Olympics?
I think my time in Maryland was really special. I think that it really taught me the importance of your support. I have a really strong belief that it takes a village to be successful. And so much of my village was actually founded at UMD. I have lifelong friends and basically sisters and brothers from UMD. But I also think that, being in a really competitive field and having coaches that really pushed me to excellence was mandatory in being successful. And also when I was leaving Maryland, having coaches that were willing to have tough conversations with me and be like, hey, like, I once thought I was going to be a multi, we can all laugh, but they're like, hey, I don't think they have triathlons for you. I think triple jump is for you. And like being told like, hey, you should do this, and actually listening to them and watching such an amazing future unfold has been phenomenal. And of course, competing I competed in both the ACC and the Big Ten because I was there for the transfer over. But being in such like competitive conferences definitely up my game.
Yeah, first off, again, we want to congratulate you on the gold medal, making Terps fans proud. But more importantly, thank you again so much for joining us here today.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. And of course, go Terps.
Outside of LaFond, the Terps were well represented in Paris with athletes and coaches in 4 different sports.
Our Ben Wolf is in Studio B with more on some of the Terps who made it to Paris this summer.
Yeah, guys, there were 13 Terps in Paris this summer, representing 5 different nations. Let's start with the Maryland program that had the most Olympians, field hockey. Field hockey had 7 players representing 3 countries. For Team USA, Leah Krause, Brooke de Burdine, Emma de Burdine, and Kelly LePage were 4 of the 16 athletes on the squad. Current Maryland assistant coach Jenny Rizzo traveled with the team as a provisional athlete as well. And former Terp Nike Lorenz was the captain for Germany, participating in her 3rd Olympic Games. Grace Balzan was a reserve for Great Britain in her 2nd Games. Despite none of the Maryland athletes earning a medal, Lorenz found the back of the cage 3 times for Germany, with 2 coming against China in a pool play game. Now let's head to the track where our recent guest, Thea LaFond, owned the triple jump for Dominica, and Chioma Onyekwere participated in the discus for Nigeria. LaFond was the most successful Terp at the Games this summer, bringing home her 1st Olympic gold medal. LaFond jumped 15.02 meters, which was 0.15 meters longer than Shanika Ricketts from Jamaica to win the gold. On the coaching side, Maryland Associate Head Coach of Middle Distance and Cross Country, Danielle Sieber, was selected as Team USA's Track and Field Women's Head Manager. Taking it indoors to the hardwood, former Lady Terps legend Alyssa Thomas was the first Maryland Women's USA Basketball Olympian since Vicky Bully in 1992. Thomas was a crucial piece off the bench for Team USA throughout the games. Thomas averaged 3.8 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 3.5 assists, helping lead the United States to a nail-biting win over France to win her 1st career gold medal. And guys, it's truly great to see all of these current and former Maryland athletes representing their home nations and performing on the world's biggest stage. Back to you guys.
Yeah, Ben and Ricky, I know that Missy Moharg spent a lot of time in the Olympics for Team USA, and she really tries to replicate that energy of the Olympics here at Maryland.
I mean, you talk about Missy Moharg. We'll have a little bit more on her and the legendary field hockey program from our TSC's Eddie Calkins later on in the show, but it wasn't just field hockey. You could see there was Terps all over the Olympics. Very good to see that they're making an impact on the big stage.
Exactly, and don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we'll take a look at some of the miles Maryland football will add to its travel in the new-look Big Ten.
And we'll recap an eventful weekend for Maryland men's and women's soccer and field hockey. Don't go anywhere.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years, and I got my 3rd child, who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
Welcome back to the Left Bench, presented by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Ricky Podgorski. And Alex, we recapped Maryland's loss to Michigan State, but if we look ahead a little bit, the Terps have some long travel days ahead.
Yeah, Ricky, and some of those new faces on the other side of the country, and with that comes big-time travel.
And to break down all of that travel across the country, With the football team, we're happy to welcome Benji Kaufman into the show to break it all down.
Benji, what do you got for us?
Yeah, guys, 4 new teams arrived to the Big Ten this summer, expanding the league to 18 programs. UCLA, USC, Washington, and Oregon officially joined the Big Ten this summer, and the conference looks completely different. Starting this season, teams are going to be getting ready for longer flights with teams all across the country. Northwestern at Washington, Wisconsin at USC, even UCLA traveling all the way to Piscataway to play Rutgers. But Maryland is also getting in on the fun this year. The Terps will travel to Eugene, Oregon for a matchup with the Ducks on November 9th. Maryland has bounced around time zones since joining the Big Ten 10 years ago, but this will be the first game the Terps have played in what used to be the Pac-12 since 2009, back in their ACC days when they opened the season against the Cal Bears. In the Mike Locksley era, not including the 2020 shortened season, the average distance of Maryland's road opponents has hovered around the 500-mile mark. Before this season, Nebraska was the furthest team Maryland has played in the Locksley era, and that was just last year. Maryland will travel over 2,000 miles to Oregon later this season, which jumps up that average number to about 828 miles. And with trips to UCLA next year and USC in 2026, that average is going to be the new norm moving forward for the Terps. And Ricky and Alex, it's going to be interesting to see how Maryland and all Big Ten teams adjust their weekly schedules and routines with these extended travel plans. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Benji. And Ricky, I know there are a lot of people who really oppose this new Big Ten, but when you look to the pros in the NFL, you could be going from LA to New York in all just a week. So it really is reminiscent of what you could see at the next level.
You're right about that. It's very similar about the pros, but you do have to consider it is not just football. Benji did a great job highlighting the football team there, but every sport and every collegiate level is affected by this. So it'll be interesting to see over time how the teams are impacted both educationally, socially, how it grows with this new conference.
Of course. Maryland men's soccer went into their Friday night matchup against Brown looking to get their second win of the season. Just 10 minutes to go, it looked like the game would end in a tie, but graduate transfer Max Rogers came up big for the Terps. Colin Griffiths got the Maryland offense off to a quick start by drawing a penalty kick just 9 minutes into the game. Leon Kuhl then takes advantage of the penalty opportunity and gives the Terps an early lead. On to the second half, and in the 78th minute, Brown scores off a throw-in from the right side to tie the game at 1. 4 minutes later, Rogers steps up to take a free kick and finds the back of the net to seal the win for the Terps. Here's that shot one more time in slow motion. And here's head coach Sasha Swarovski after the win.
Not at full strength, but I like our locker room. I like the culture of our team. We've put in a good shift in every game so far this year. There's not a single game that I've walked away, feeling like the guys didn't put in a good shift. I'm looking forward to the day when we can have the full squad because we've tacked on a pretty good schedule here, but we're up for the challenge.
Maryland men's soccer is currently on the pitch right now against San Diego State. They're tied up at 1 apiece at the break. On to the women's side, Maryland women's soccer hosted its senior night on Sunday, and on a day for the veterans, it was Maryland's underclassmen that made all the difference in a huge win over VCU. Sophomore forward Kennedy Bell gets it going, bottom right for Maryland just over a few minutes in. Then a few possessions later, Kennedy answers the bell again for her second goal in the opening half. Peyton Bernard keeps Maryland's foot on the gas and zips a goal in with, of course, a well-performed celebration despite the score. VCU kept the shots coming, but goalkeeper Liz Beardsley secured her second shutout of the season. Maryland junior Delaney DiMartino puts the icing on the cake for in the 70th minute. The Terps win 4-0. Here's Maryland head coach Megan Ryan Nemser on Maryland's clean sheet.
I think there was a sequence where they had probably 6 or 7 first or second balls, and we talk about like we bend but we don't break, and I thought they did a phenomenal job with that piece. Just little details, and that's what we spoke about, is that we got to be better with the details, and today we were very good with the details.
After a 2-0 start in the Maryland tournament, Maryland volleyball looked to earn the sweep against North Texas. Despite some fatigue, the Terps earned the dub. Led by Sydney Bryant and Anastasia Russ, Maryland pulled out a heavily contested first set. Terps continued their first set momentum into the second, winning 25-12. Samantha Schneider was once again the Terps leaders in points with 20. She recorded 16 kills and 1 set ace. Lily Gunter also had a strong performance, leading the team with 13 digs. And Sam Sire continued her impressive start to the season with 12.5 points. In the third set, Maryland was able to put the game away, sweeping the Mean Green in 3 sets and sweeping the Maryland tournament.
Number 4, Maryland field hockey played in the Big Ten ACC Cup in Evanston at Northwestern and split its matchups with 2 top 25 opponents. Ella Gayton kicks off the scoring for Game 1 against number 17 Boston College, and Maya Everett gets in on the action in the second half. Terps beat the Eagles 2-0. Game 2 was a top 5 matchup with the Duke Blue Devils, but Duke finds the cage in the third quarter, and the Terps can't get any offense moving, dropping the second game to Duke 1-0. Maryland comes back to College Park for a game against Virginia on Friday. Here's what Missy Maharg had to say after the tournament.
There was a temperament of Duke being in control of the game, even though they weren't. And then when we did have opportunities, we were a little bit desperate. Didn't take our time with the shots that we did have and create more numbers up. So, we just were a bit too impatient, but a lot of unbelievable lessons to a very good team.
Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we'll take a look into the storied history of Maryland field hockey.
And as always, we'll crown our Pro Terp of the Week in top 5 plays. Stay with us.
I tell my son, I love you every single day.
I love you.
Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
I think I finally found.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Got a new house. It's looking pretty cool so far. A place that I call home.
I'm teaching Louise how to cook some lasagna.
It only takes a spark to make a fire start.
Thank you.
Study, please.
I think I finally found a place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
Welcome back to The Left Bench, presented by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Alex Gary, here with Ricky Podgorski. And Ricky, Maryland field hockey has been a premier college field hockey program for the past half century.
That's right, Alex. National championships, ACC, and Big Ten titles, and countless impact players have made College Park a top field hockey destination.
This year makes the Terps' 51st season as a program, and a little less than 2 weeks ago, the team celebrated its decorated alumni and 50-year history.
TSC's Eddie Calkins takes a look at how Maryland became the powerhouse it is today.
50 golden years of Maryland field hockey.
Nothing like raising trophies.
This fall, the program kicking off its 50th anniversary campaign, honoring decades of dominance. 8 national championships, an NCAA record 28 tournament appearances, and 27 conference championships.
Just always loved kind of the difference that Maryland stood for, and Maryland's kind of uniqueness when it comes to our swag, our very unique way.
Dottie McKnight coached the early days of Maryland field hockey. Then, in 1974, Dr. Sue Tyler led the Turps at the program's official start.
And they actually recruited me there to not just to coach, but that was part of the draw, but to teach. So when I was first hired, I was not listed as a coach. I was listed as a teacher.
Current head coach Missy Maharg has been in College Park for 37 years. That's almost 3/4 of Maryland's entire program existence. She's won 7 national championships and racked up over 600 career wins. But if you ask her, she's rarely thinking about Maryland's storied history.
I mean, life changes every hour, doesn't it, right now for all of us? Couldn't even begin to tell you what could happen in 1 year.
Maharg actually started as an assistant coach under Coach Tyler. In 1987, Dr. Tyler handed over the torch to Maharg, fresh off the Terps' first NCAA championship.
At the same time, I was finishing up my PhD. I was teaching classes, coaching lacrosse and coaching field hockey. So, and I saw how good, she was just a natural. She's a very gifted coach. She's energetic, committed, loyal, etc. And I thought she would be the perfect person.
A Maryland legacy defined by greatness and tradition makes it easy for graduate students like Emma Burdine to return to College Park. It's one more chance to put on the red, white, black, and of course gold.
Family culture, sisterhood culture that Missy has created here. It's just, I hadn't seen another college campus that was anything like that.
For Terrapin Sports Central, I'm Eddie Calkins.
Eddie, great story there. Maryland field hockey is no stranger to success. We talked about it earlier in the show. They're all over the world with the Olympics.
And they're not done. They're looking to have the next 50 years and be a franchise of college field hockey for the next half century.
Absolutely, Alex. But it's that time of the show to get into some awards. So why don't we kick things off for the first show of the year and get the win, but it would be hard not to give our Terp of the Week to Maryland football's Glendon Miller. Miller tallied 7 tackles and grabbed 2 crazy interceptions. Turps couldn't get it done, but Miller's big plays stopped some of the bleeding in big-time ways. In 2 games, Miller has 3 interceptions, on pace for some crazy numbers this season. Congrats to Glendon Miller on being crowned our Terp of the Week.
The NFL season got off to an exciting start, and our Pro Terp gave his new team a lot to be happy about. This week's Pro Terp just had to be Stefon Diggs. New team, same Diggs, as he electrified Houston with a 2-touchdown performance. Along with 6 receptions for 33 yards, Diggs was a game changer. Diggs, CJ Stroud, and the rest of the Texans receiving corps prove that they're going to be dangerous the rest of the season. Congrats to Stefon Diggs for being named our Pro Terp. And Ricky, Stefon Diggs, top 5 plays all the time. But speaking of top 5 plays, why don't you just get us right into it?
Let's get it started with our first top 5 plays of the year. We'll stay with football. Billy Edwards with some Mahomes-type action here. Pitches the ball right up the field. Almost tackled, but gets it off just in time. That's number 5.
And number 4, we have no stranger to top 5's play, Liz Beardsley with a diving save. I feel like every time we do this, she's got another diving save. What a play by Liz Beardsley.
In focus last year was all Liz Beardsley. But how about Sydney Dowler here with the dig and slam? Anastasia Rush actually with the slam, but Sydney Dowler with the crazy dig there right over the net.
Another crazy play, Ty Felton. What a season he's having with the toe touch. He gets the touchdown in. Ty Felton, one of the best receivers we're seeing in college football this year. What a play.
And our number 1 play has to go to Max Rogers, nailing the free kick, eventually getting the win for the Terps here. What a shot from all the way out there for Max Rogers. Absolute beaut. I don't play soccer, but I mean,
that's beautiful. And we're seeing a lot more scoring out of men's soccer this year, and I love it.
Who knows what's next for them as well. And that will do it for the first edition of the Left Bench this year. We are so excited to be back.
You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and X to keep up with all of our coverage.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.